Welcome to Wayward Writers. I'm senior literary agent and author Heather Cashman.
I'm author and writing coach Stephanie Bearce.
And I'm author and writing coach Nicki Jacobsmeyer.
Our mission is to nurture and enrich established writers throughout their publishing journeys.
We welcome all genres, age groups, and publishing paths through video podcasts, online webinars, in-person retreats, and more.
We're here to help you conquer your path.
Welcome to Wayward Writers. We're excited today to talk with Michelle Collins Anderson about MFA programs and her experience with getting an MFA. Stephanie, will you tell us all about Michelle, please?
I'd love to. At least a little bit about Michelle. Michelle Collins Anderson grew up on a farm in the Missouri Ozarks, a place and a way of life that has shaped her writing. A graduate of the University of Missouri with an MFA from Warren Wilson College, she previously worked in advertising and public relations, taught elementary school creative writing, and was an adjunct professor at the University of Missouri and Stevens College. She serves on the board of the Missouri Review, and her short fiction has appeared in Midwestern Gothic, Elder Mountain, a journal of the Ozark Studies, Bosque, Lascaux Review, Pooled Ink, Story Hills, an anthology of contemporary Ozark fiction, and other publications. A mother of three, she lives with her husband in St. Louis, Missouri. So welcome. I'm excited to talk to you about your MFA program. Here. And can you tell us a little bit about your publishing journey?
Absolutely. I'm happy to. I think I have wanted to be a writer, or maybe I have been a writer my entire life as soon as I could hold a pencil. When I was a kid, I grew up, as you said, in the Missouri Ozarks, and we lived on a 60-acre farm full of registered Angus cattle. And it was just my family of five, my mom and dad and three kids. I was the oldest. And I remember even way back when I was a kid, 7 or 8, 9 years old, my brother and I would write and produce a family newspaper called the Family Press. And it was just on blue lined paper and ink pens with our own wonderful illustrations, and put it out as often as we could. And you can imagine, with just the five of us living not near anyone else, that the news was always very scintillating and exciting. But anyway, I just bring it up as a way to say I've just been writing forever. I've always loved literature, reading literature and discussing it, writing about it. But I was being very practical at the time. It was the 1980s and the job market was not very good. At least journalism would give me a chance at a job, whereas I wasn't sure English major would offer much in that realm. So I was a journalism major. I graduated with an emphasis in advertising. And as you said, I spent my entire career really doing advertising, marketing, copywriting. So I was writing all those years before I was published. When my daughter, my youngest of my three children, went to kindergarten, I decided to pursue a dream that I had always had, which was to write and publish a novel. I should say in between that time, before I applied to grad schools, I had been kind of dabbling with workshops, like creative writing workshops. So I had attended one here in St. Louis at WashU one summer. I spent various summers up at Iowa for the Iowa Writers Festival. So I was always trying to keep my toe in a little bit of writing, even though I was really a full-time mom. And at that juncture, when I decided to get my MFA, I had been encouraged by one of my professors at one of the writing festivals. She felt like it was really something that I should pursue. And I argued with her because I felt like I was too old and I hadn't been in school.
Never too old.
You're never too old. And I hadn't written a paper for 30 years. And I was like, I don't even know if I could do that anymore. Plus, my kids were still pretty young, 5 years old and on up. But she really felt like I should. She promised me she would write me a recommendation, and she really encouraged me to do that. And then I also had another professor at the WashU workshop that I went to, a local professor here named John Dalton, who teaches at UMSL in the creative writing program. And he also really encouraged me to pursue an MFA and also wrote one of those very important letters for me. So when I decided to pursue the master's program, I was encouraged to look at what they call low residency MFA programs. And for anyone that isn't familiar with that term, it just means that you're not there all the time. It's not like a full-time residence where you have to move somewhere and go to a classroom every day or even 3 days a week or whatever it is. Instead, you go to a certain place, wherever the college is that's hosting, for maybe a couple of weeks a semester. And then at that 2-week residency is what they call it. You spend your 2 weeks there getting to know your classmates and also workshopping your material. Maybe you turned in a short story ahead of time and you spend time in workshop with a group of people who have read your work and offer criticism and improvement ideas for you. You also listen to a ton of lectures. The residency that I went to was both fiction and poetry. So I learned both poetry and fiction from the professors that were on staff. We wrote little papers about all of the lectures that we saw. We also were paired up with one professor in particular. It was a discernment process, and you end up with one person that you're going to spend the rest of the semester with. And so after that person is chosen, then you and that professor spend a lot of the residency also making a study plan for yourself and goals, things that you want to accomplish and work on during that semester. And then everyone goes home after those 2 weeks. And then you and your professor, your advisor, work together across email and just exchange work and responses to that work over the course of the semester. So the reason that was wonderful for me is, as I mentioned, I had 3 young children, and it made it really possible for me to be a full-time student. So I would, as soon as I got the last one dropped off at kindergarten, I would just boogie on home and get to my desk and just write and do my papers and reading until it was time to pick them up. So that was something that enabled me to pursue that dream, whereas traditional programs really weren't an option for me.
It sounds really fun to be with your professor.
Oh, it really is. It's wonderful. I can tell you a little story about my program is called Warren Wilson, as you mentioned. It's a little tiny program just outside of Asheville, North Carolina. It's actually distinguished as, I believe, the oldest MFA program or low residency MFA program. It started in Vermont at Goddard College by a poet named Ellen Bryant Boyd. And the program got moved to Warren Wilson when the Vermont school no longer wanted to host the master's program. But Warren Wilson, this little tiny college, agreed to do it. So we were their only master's program. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about my first experience there in my workshop. I showed up very nervous with my short story that I had sent in ahead of time for everyone in my group to read and reflect on. And the way they do it there is you have, during your workshop, the professors that are on staff there rotate around and are assigned to different groups every day. So it's not the same professor leading the workshop every day. So you never know exactly who you're going to get. And when I walked into the room, I found out that the person that was going to be giving me feedback on my very first short story was a professor named Anthony Dorr, who had written All the Light You Cannot See. So I was like astounded that a little beginner like me could learn from somebody like that. That would even be allowed. But that was the beauty of this program. I think one of the wonderful things about a low residency MFA is that they can pull talented faculty from all over the country, from all over some of the very best writing programs everywhere, because they're on vacation too. We would go the first 2 weeks of January and the first 2 weeks of July. So these professors were in between their regular semesters and course loads. And a lot of them, they just loved coming to Warren Wilson because all of us wanted to be there. Most of us were a little bit older. There were youngsters like 21, fresh out of school people, but there were a lot of people that had already had other careers and were older. We were very motivated students. And so these professors we would have probably 30 professors there in poetry and fiction from everywhere. Whereas if you went to a traditional MFA program, your staff would be pretty small, the people that you actually work with every day. But I got to listen to lectures and be taught by so many wonderful people that I might not have crossed paths with otherwise or in a traditional program. So I feel very fortunate for that. And I think it is a wonderful selling point for the low residency program.
So, what made you decide to pursue an MFA? There's been a lot of times when I've thought about higher education.
Number one, it's terrifying to go back to school.
Yes, it is.
It really is. I swear. Like when I was trying to decide between programs when I was applying, and also just wondering if I could really do it. And I got a call from the director of Warren Wilson, Ellen Bryant Voigt, like I said, and she is a little bit intimidating, I'm just going to say. And she got me on the phone and she was like, "Why haven't you responded yes yet?" And I said, I'm nervous about it. I haven't been in school for 30 years and I've got these kids and blah, blah. She's, you can do it. We believe you can do it. You can do it. Just go ahead and turn in your yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, whoa. It was wonderful to have that sort of someone believe in you, but also, again, it was terrifying. But I think I had been encouraged by a number of people. And let me just preface this by saying, I already knew how to write, and I'm sure you already know how to write. That is not the issue. I think for me, it was a commitment to myself and to my art to put it first and to put it seriously. And then I think as a blessed or wonderful byproduct of that, I got a few more tools in my toolbox as well. But I think writers, they don't have to have an MFA certainly to achieve their goals. But for me, it was truly a way of committing to myself and my family and saying, this is a dream of mine and I really want to make it happen. I'm taking it seriously. I'm a writer. I'm going to do my very best to learn everything I can to make it happen. So that was my thought process. And I'm very glad I did it. Just personally, it felt great to know that I could still write a good paper, make a good argument, just be in community with other smart, interesting people and keep learning. If you love being a student, being an MFA student is just like a little slice of heaven, reading all of these books and just discussing them with people that only want to talk about books and ideas. It's truly just a wonderful experience. But also personally, as a mom, I think it was very important for my children to see me. They'd only known me as mom. It was very important for them to see me put so much of myself into something and try to achieve a goal that was outside of the family realm, and to see how important it was for me to know how hard I worked and also how much they had to give up too, a little bit of mom time here and there and different things. And they were also supportive of me and very proud. I took them all to graduation with me. And and we all danced afterwards. It was wonderful.
That's great.
But
That's so
I
fun.
think that was really important for them too, as developing humans, to see their mother also having goals and dreams and realizing those. It's good for them too.
I think those are all wonderful reasons to do it. So it sounds like it was a great experience. Did it meet your expectations? Why or why not?
I think definitely it met my expectations. It probably exceeded them, to be honest with you,
That's
because I
great.
was unsure of what it would truly be like once I was in it. And I'm not going to lie, it was really hard work. I think I exchanged 6 packets. That's what we called them with our professor over the course of a semester. So that would come up every 2 to 3 weeks. And you would be expected to turn in like maybe 30 to 50 pages of work, a very detailed letter of what you've been reading and thinking about, a log of all of the books and short stories and poems and everything that you've read. Oh, and little critical papers. We had to write a couple of different, we called them annotations. They weren't really like an analysis of literature so much as a learning tool to find out about, say, you want to find out more about writing in the second person. So you might read a couple of stories in the second person and then you formulate some sort of theory or idea about it that you want to explore and support it with your work. So I had two or three of those papers due every packet too. So it was just a lot of work. And I think my program in particular is known for that. I think there are some that aren't quite as harsh, but
it's intense.
Yeah, it was really intense, but I'm so glad for it. I felt very, like, I just learned a lot. I learned a lot of different things. And gosh, and it also helped me know that I could establish a schedule and sit at my desk and write for prolonged periods and achieve something from it. It's so easy when you are not on a deadline or don't have someone cracking the whip. So many other things get in the way, little distractions, a load of laundry, a kid needs something, whatever. That was really good practice for the discipline of writing a novel, for sure. If there's one thing that I don't want to say disappointed, but I wish I could have had more of there, was just more about how to write a novel, because I spent my semesters there writing short stories. That is pretty common or for traditional as learning tools, because they're shorter pieces of literature. So you can start and finish a short story in a couple of days, a week, a month, whatever, and learn something from it and then move on. Whereas if you start a novel and you're trying to learn structure and all of these other things, we're talking about years here. And even though I graduated and had my little thesis full of short stories, I really did not know what I was doing when I wrote my first novel. I felt like I was learning a lot of it on my own. However, like I said, I had those tools in my toolbox from my studies there, and just, I think, a confidence that I could figure it out. Yeah, that's what I would say.
That's wonderful.
It's,
I wonder if I should go get an MFA.
I know. Every time I talk to somebody,
do it.
I'm like, oh, I want to go back to school, but
it's so fun
as it is. So I know. I just want to do the study aspects, but I love school. I've always loved
school. Is so fun. It is fun, and as an adult, it's how fun it is, and you really relish it. Like when you're a college kid, school is fun and you're learning a lot, but you don't realize the real world, what is awaiting you, and what a treasure time this is, where you can just immerse yourself into learning everything you can. It's really wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, we know school is wonderful, and I think I would be a professional student if I could afford it.
I would too. If somebody would pay for it for me, I'd do it.
But can you tell us what aspects of it, or maybe the curriculum, or maybe it was the connections, what did you find most valuable about getting an MFA?
I'm not sure there's one thing. I think personally, it is the confidence that it gave me. Like I said, that commitment to myself, that instead of saying, oh, and I write short stories, but just embracing, I am a writer. This is who I am, and not feel like an imposter, which all of us do feel that way, but just to really commit to myself that this is who I am and what I want to do. And that it was a validation of that, I think. But I think one of the other gifts that just keeps on giving for me from the MFA program is all of the people that I met in that program. Just like I said, so many smart, interesting, funny people, and also people that really want to help you. It seemed to me this program in particular is not very focused on how to get an agent. It's truly about the art of it and the learning the craft of writing. But they're willing to help you however they can with whatever experience they have or connections that they have. And also, besides that, I just made some really good friends. And those friends have been invaluable to me as I've been writing my first novel and then my second, just having a sounding board, people that I can send my manuscript to and say, would you mind reading this? And they give me truly honest feedback, not just, oh, good job, or yeah, this was great, which is not what you want, because you truly want to make your piece better. And so I trust these people that I graduated with. There's just a handful of them that I send my pieces to, and I do the same for them. It's reciprocal. It's give and take, and that's really writing better. And then when it comes to publication time, you have all of these people that sprinkled all over the country, because like I said, my little program, it was set in Asheville, North Carolina, but people came from everywhere to go to school there. So when I did my book tour, I got to see and stay with friends around, and or maybe they helped me set something up with a bookstore or a library just because they had a connection there. Just so helpful and unselfish. And I think that's, like I said, a gift from that program that keeps on helping me.
That is
That's
wonderful,
wonderful.
because we're always all about community here. And that just shows another way of building your writing community and giving back to each other. So it sounds like you got a lot out of it. Do you also think your degree improved your chances of teaching, publishing, getting grants? Do you think it has helped in those areas?
I haven't had any experience with grants, so I can't speak to that. I do think it helps if you want to teach. It's an enormous help. It's one of the few things I think still where a PhD is not required, but an MFA will help you get in the door to teach creative writing. If you don't have an English degree, an MFA is often accepted in that stead. I haven't pursued that myself, but I have many classmates that have gone that route for sure. As far as publishing goes, I think it's on my resume. I'm not sure because I'm not on the other side of the people reading those resumes or reading the literature. But I do know for a fact that when my publishing company, when my editor was considering taking on my novel, my agent said that they were very happy that I had an MFA. And the reason was
Yeah.
not so much the training or whatever, like the learning, but it just to them, it said, I knew how to work hard. I knew how to take criticism. All of those things that would just make the process easier for them, to be honest, because I have those experiences. So I think it really did help me personally to have it. Again, I don't think it's necessary. I have many friends published that don't have an MFA, and they have wonderful books and they write beautifully. But for me, it has turned out to be very helpful.
It all sounds extremely positive. So I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Do you feel that there were any drawbacks to your MFA or the program, or maybe the cost of the program or something like that?
I think drawbacks, it is not cheap. It definitely was an investment, and it was an investment that I had to think about pretty seriously because again, it's part of that commitment. Am I really going to do this? And that was definitely motivating. Once I started, I was like, I am all in because the price tag is not cheap. That said, I know that there are many programs that offer assistance or scholarships for different groups or types of people. I have a good friend in the program who is, I'm not sure what her age is now, but she started a scholarship for older writers, which I think is wonderful. And so there are ways that you can get at least a little bit of help. And there are all the traditional loans avenues available to students, just like traditional college or whatever. You can still take a loan that's not a horrendous interest rate still and help you along if you aren't able to write the check, which I certainly could not have just written a check to go to school. So, cost, I think, is definitely a drawback. I think one of the other things, I did mine about a dozen years ago now, but I think these days it's becoming more and more common. I feel like almost everywhere has a MFA program now, and I'm not sure what that means. It makes me worried about quality control and also about expectations about if I do this, then I'm set. I think it's making it even harder in a way. It's so hard out there to be a writer and to try to find a place to get your stuff published. And so I know it's tempting for us to try whatever method, but if everyone has an MFA, I'm not sure what an MFA means anymore. Then I think you're back to like ground zero. But I think if people want to pursue it, it's a wonderful experience. But I don't want people to go in thinking that it's like a magic ticket, that it's going to magically help them get a book published or whatever, because it still comes down to your work ethic and your writing, and quite frankly, luck. Are you in the right place at the right time? Are you writing the right genre for what is interesting to people right now? There's so many factors that go into it that are totally beyond your control. I hate to think that programs are overpromising what they can deliver, because it's still hard.
It is hard.
Sounds like you're saying that the MFA was wonderful in the study experience, but maybe it's very individualized as to what you want to get out of it.
You have to temper your expectations and as far as what happens afterwards. But I think if you're committing to it, it's a gift to yourself that I don't think you would regret. I definitely have friends who went through the program with me that are not currently writing, but they are writers. And I think they're glad that they did that experience. Maybe they'll circle back to it. I'm not sure. But it's a very worthwhile exercise. But at the price tag it is, I definitely am glad that I'm still going. I would feel a little bit bad if I had switched gears. Yeah.
What would you recommend to someone who can't financially pursue an MFA, but they want to take their craft to that next level? Do you have any recommendations?
Oh, yeah, definitely. What I alluded to before, like when I was before I did my MFA, I really tried to make time, at least weekends or week or two during the summer, where I just went to a workshop. And it's definitely less expensive than an MFA program, especially if you go somewhere local. Like I said, I went to a wonderful one at WashU. I don't know if that's available anymore, but the Iowa Writers Festival was very affordable as well. And they put you up in a little dorm just so you're back in school. And those professors are very qualified and they're also from all over the place. Many of them have attended the Iowa Writers Workshop. So they're wonderful teachers. And I think just doing things like that, where you are putting yourself out there, you're preparing for a certain thing. You have to have a short story done, or a nonfiction article, or whatever it is that you are writing, and going there and putting yourself out there in a group, offering critiques to others and learning how to take them yourself and figure out what part to listen to and what part to ignore. And also making those connections. Like I said, the two professors that I met at the Iowa Writers Festival both were so supportive and encouraging of me to pursue further education. And they helped me figure out how to do it. I had not heard of a low residency program. I had only thought I would have to give up everything and move my family wherever I would get accepted. And I knew that was not possible for me with 3 little kids and a husband with a very demanding job that he couldn't just move. So it was those connections that I made at those workshops that really got me on my path. That said, there are other ways to do it too. And one is to find other people that you trust or that want to write too, and that you just make it a priority to get together, whether it's once a week, once a month, and just really exchange work and exchange ideas. I think it's very helpful to have a sounding board like that, people that you really can trust. It's hard to find. You have to start it yourself. No one is usually going to just invite you to join this wonderful group like that. It's something that you have to do, and maybe you just start with one trusted person and just expand from there. But I think that it's very important that we are getting feedback and getting over our anxiety about sharing our writing. It's very hard to do, to put yourself out there. It's cutting open your heart and serving it up on a platter. But the more that you do it, the more you actually enjoy that feedback and the thinking that it causes you to do, that forces your work into a new place or a new space and a better space. It's just a wonderful thing to do. So writing group for sure. And then finally, there's just no substitute for sitting in your chair and writing. I know so many writing groups, they love to talk about writing, but they aren't really writing as much as maybe they would want to be writing. And I think it's just really important that you make a schedule, just like you would schedule anything else in your life, an appointment with the dentist or a massage, or I go grocery shopping on Thursday, or I do laundry on Wednesday, whatever. You do the same thing with your writing. And so what I like to do is schedule my time at the library I try to go in the mornings, and I have a wonderful little library that's just a mile from my house, and they have quiet rooms, and they allow you to stay in there for 2 hours at a time. So I just go in there. They know me by now. They just sign me up and they send me into a little room, and then I just stay there until they kick me out or I reach my goal. I often set a writing goal for myself, especially if I'm on a bigger deadline. Like maybe I'll say, I need to get a 500 words today, or I need 1,000 words today. And I will not let myself leave the room until I have achieved that. Now, are they going to be the best 1,000 words of my life? Probably not, but that's okay because you have to write more to get it to what you want. So that's one thing that I do is just really schedule that time and make sure that I'm showing up for it just like I show up for the other obligations in my life. So I think that's important, and it doesn't matter what level, whether you're beginning or you've published 10 books, but that time, but in chair time, is there's no substitute.
I think all of that is great advice for any writer at any stage. So thank you for that. It's really good.
Yeah. And I was just going to add that I think one of the great things about an MFA, like you said, is that you really are being taught by professionals who are very knowledgeable and can really lift you and lift your knowledge base. And I think that there are ways to get critiques or sessions with professionals who are working in the industry. There's a lot of them freelance edit or things like that, or will have programs for you where you can talk about different aspects of publishing in the industry and writing and craft and all of those things. I think I just wanted to mention that you can, not on a huge scale and it's not as immersive, right? But it's at least a way for you to maybe get a little bit of bang for your buck.
Totally. And I think that's a really good point. And I myself have reached out and used editors that from just an online source. If you need something like that, that's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to connect. There are so many like Facebook groups, and I was in one called Binders Full of Women, and they were binders seeking literary agents. So everyone was in the same pool, like everyone was looking for an agent. Then they have other groups where everyone is trying to get their query letter right, or people are trying to, I don't know, like debut novel. There's so many little subgroups, but you can find your little subgroup and you can get all of your questions answered for free pretty much from people who are willing to share their experiences. So I think online communities and getting hooked up with, say, an editor or maybe a sensitivity reader, or there's so many different types of people that can help you out there. And that was something that wasn't really available to me as I was starting out. And I think it's just really proliferating. So that is good news.
Yeah, it is good news. Would you do anything differently if you could, going back?
There's always a part of you is, gosh, I wish I would have done this 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't know. I feel fortunate that my life has unfolded the way it has. I always wanted to write, and I was anxious that I would never get to. When you're in the trenches of motherhood, sometimes it is just so consuming. And I really was dedicated to being a mom and being a good mom. And so writing was always not my priority, but it was always in my mind, and I was always trying to keep a toe in. And I think to myself, I'm not sure I could have written the things that I'm writing now as a 22 or 28-year-old woman. I think my life experiences definitely inform my writing, and I think it's probably the better for it. Just, I wasn't a mom right away. I was an older mom, and my kids are probably fortunate that I had a little more patience and experience under my belt as a mother too, as a human. It's that same sort of thing. Wouldn't have had all of the things to draw on that I do for my current projects. And so, yeah, it would have been cool to have my novel published when I was 30 years old. But honestly, I don't know if I could have really grasped how amazing that was. And now I do. I feel so fortunate. I never thought my novel would be published. So all of this is like icing on the cake. And
Yeah.
It's a good feeling. So I guess even though I've got gray hair, I'm happy where I'm. Yeah.
Gray hair is wisdom, so it's a good thing, right?
Right on. Yes,
That's what I
absolutely.
say. So, do you feel like your identity as an artist and author changed because of your MFA program?
Just what I said before, I think internally, just that belief and that prioritizing of who I am, that I am a writer, I think that definitely helped me. And I do think on the outside, it's an easy shorthand for someone scanning your resume or whatever. It's just an easy shorthand to know what you've done or what you've been through. So they can, if they're familiar with your program, they feel that they can trust the product maybe a little bit. So I think definitely it has changed my identity. Yeah, probably inside and out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think that when I'm going through queries and I see that people have an MFA, it just makes me take them so much more seriously because I know that they have taken it so seriously. They're investing a lot into their craft. And so, yeah, I think it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah.
For
Fun
Thank
to
you so
learn.
much.
Yeah, I'm a whole lot jealous because it sounds like a wonderful program. And I hope that maybe
Yeah.
some of our listeners will, who are on the fence, maybe this will send them into the MFA world and let them experience
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for sure. I hope so. I hope it's encouraging to those people that are on the fence, thinking about it. Can I do it? Yes, you can do it. And then for the other people that are on the fence and maybe go the other way, you don't have to do it. You really don't. You can do amazing things without it for sure. But if you feel that urge, if there's something inside you that says, I just really want to do this, I think this is for me, then don't hold yourself back. You don't want to ask yourself, what if? Just go ahead and do it. It's going to be hard. I'm not going to lie, but just do it.
Wonderful.
That is great advice. Thank you so much, Michelle. I
Of
really
course.
appreciate it.
Thank you. And if anyone has questions, they can certainly reach out to me on my website. I'm happy to
And can
give
you tell
any
us?
advice. Yeah, my website is michelleanderson.me, M-E. You can send me an email if you have
Great.
anything you want to ask. I'm always happy to pay it forward because I feel like so many people helped me along the way on this journey. I always want to help other people get their writing dreams going too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Wayward Writers.
Let's connect. Find us at waywardwriters.com, X, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
See you next time. Conquer your path.